So on page 13 in your yellow packet, let's go over some of those answers. So number one, a blank quantity is completely described by magnitude alone, and that would be scalar. And a blank quantity is completely described by magnitude with a direction, that would be vector. So your answer should be A. Number two, speed is a blank quantity and vector is a blank quantity. So speed is scalar, velocity is vector. So speed versus velocity. Speed and velocity are two quantities in physics that seem at first glance to have the same meaning. While related, they have distinctly different definitions. Knowing their definitions is critical to understanding the difference between them. Speed is a quantity that describes how fast or how slow an object is moving. And velocity is a quantity that is defined as the rate at which an object's position changes. So number three, suppose you're considering three different paths, A, B, and C, between the same two locations. Along which path would you have to move with the greatest speed to arrive at the destination in the same amount of time? And then explain. So that would be path C because it actually has the greatest distance that you have to travel. So you have to move a lot faster in order to cover the distance between the two dots in the same amount of time. Number four, true or false. It is possible for an object to move for 10 seconds at a high speed and end up with an average velocity of 0. And that's true because you could move really, really fast for 10 seconds, but then end up where you started. Number five, if the above statement is true, then describe an example of such a motion. If the above statement is false, then explain why it is false. So again, if the object turns or curves around and finishes at its starting point, then there is 0 displacement. Number six, suppose that you run for 10 seconds along three different paths. Rank the paths from the lowest average speed to the greatest average speed. So since it takes you 10 seconds to run them, that means that A is going to be the highest speed and B would be the lowest speed. So ranking them from lowest to greatest, B, then C, then A. The other part is ranking the three paths on the lowest average velocity to the greatest average velocity. Well, A is starting and stopping at the same point, and that's less than the other two, which appear to be about equal. So A is less than B, but equals C. So now on page 14, calculating average speed and average velocity. So it reminds you up at the top here that average speed equals distance over time and average velocity equals displacement over time. Number seven, you run from your house to your friend's house that's 3 miles away in 30 minutes. You then immediately walk home, taking an hour on your return trip. So what is your average speed in miles per hour? So you walk 3 miles there and 3 miles back, so that would be 6 miles. And it takes you 1.5 hours, so it's half an hour going and 1 hour coming back. So 6 divided by 1.5 ends up being 4 miles per hour. Part B, what is the average velocity in miles per hour for the entire trip? It's actually 0 because there's no displacement. You start at your house and you end at your house. Number 8, a cross-country skier moves from location A to B to C to D, and each leg of the motion takes 1 minute to complete, and the total time is 3 minutes. The unit of length here is meters. Calculate the average speed in meters per minute and the average velocity of the skier during the 3 minutes of recreation. So first we have to determine the distance traveled. So from A to B is 160. From B to C, he went from 160 to 40, so that's 120. And then from C to D, that's 40 to 120, so that's 80. So we have here 160 plus 120 plus 80, and that totals up to 360 meters. It takes 3 minutes to do all of that, so your average speed is 360 meters divided by 3 minutes, and that gives you 120 meters per minute. Average velocity, we only need to take into account the starting point, which is A, and the ending point, which is D, and they travel 120 meters, and that is east, and they do that in 3 minutes. So the average velocity is 120 divided by 3, which is 40. So we end up with 40 meters per minute, and it's in the east direction because he heads east, going from A to D. So now what I'm going to have you do is work on your MOP app, which is KC3, speed and velocity. And again, KC is kinematic concepts. So this one is going to be very similar to what we've just been going over on this worksheet. And good luck. If you have any questions, send me some screenshots.